Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. No hate to anyone, and don't take this too seriously if you happen to be fans of any of these groups. Anyway, so I decided to look at some of the absolute worst K-pop group names they are definitely something. I like to classify these K-pop group names into different categories: the setups, the weird symbols, the ones that are just hard to pronounce or makes no sense, the ones that are just straight up weird, the acronyms, random word generator, the passwords, and plain basic. We all want our favorite groups to last long, right? And see them performing even as adults while having the freedom to choose whatever concept they want to. But these youthful names end up being very restraining. Like Super Junior, who are all almost in their 40s, people often mock their name by calling them super seniors. And the same thing will probably happen to stray kids in the future. I can see people calling them stray adults unless they decide to abbreviate their name to SKZ. Also the boys. Not only is this name limiting, but it's so uncreative. G-Idol. First of all, it takes too long to type out. Secondly, how do you even actually pronounce it? I've heard people say the G is supposed to be silent and some saying that there is a ya at the end as in idol ya. I have no idea why there are parentheses and I can't figure out the pronunciation. The name is just strange. Promise 9. It sounds like a random username when there aren't any other username options available, and what's the point of the underscores? It feels so unnecessary. Eyes 1. I used to call them iZone for the longest. Like, why do these companies like adding weird symbols to the group names? What exactly is the purpose of these symbols? FX. When I first saw this group name, I went, isn't that literally a math formula? Kepler. I thought it was pronounced Kepler at first. The name is literally the same as 17th century German astronomer Johannes Kepler. Also, I don't really understand why they replaced the L with the number 1. Why name a group after a scientist and why misspell the name? The Ones. It's funny how this name is pronounced with the one, like the ones, rather than dice, and Kepler is pronounced as Kepler and not Kepona. These K-pop companies can't get any more confusing. Names with numbers that can make the pronunciation confusing are not great at all. Ape 6. Aside from being weird, it doesn't make any sense because the group doesn't even have 6 members, but have 6 in their name. Donkeys. When written, it doesn't look bad, but then you pronounce it and it sounds like donkeys, as in the animal. Dick Punks. This is self-explanatory. I think they are going for this hardcore rock group name only to end up sounding ridiculous. All of a sudden, I remember the rumors of YG wanted to name Blackpink Ping Pong. Drug Restaurant. The group name apparently has a backstory, which is to represent the band's desire to provide listeners with a greater relief than any drug in the drugstore and to offer a gateway out from the pressures of society. Makes sense, but the word combination is definitely a choice. Piggy Dolls. Piggy Dolls came on the K-pop scene in 2011. Unfortunately, the way they got their name isn't the best, since the trio was actually introduced as an overweight group with powerful vocals, hence the piggy part of the name, even though the girls weren't really overweight, and that's so weird on the company's part. Crying Not. They're also a punk rock group like Dick Punks. Yes, they actually chose that. In fact, the latest album is called Flaming Nuts. Korean punk rock groups have the weirdest name. Bugaboo. Not only does the name sound childish, but it's also the name of a stroller company, Rare Potato. Not only is this username questionable, but they are brothers to another group called Well Done Potato. Who the hell came up with these and just why? No way it's that difficult to come up with a group name. It was definitely done on purpose. Maybe they thought it would be funny. New Jeans. At first, I didn't vibe with the name, but you get used to it eventually. Extraordinary Heroes. The name is not bad, but it's just a mouthful. Plus, it sounds like one of those superhero squad names in cartoons. Hot. When written down seems okay, but then you look at the meaning and start to question what really goes on in the minds of the people who come up with these names. HOT stands for high five of teenagers, like be for real. Obtention. Every time I come across this group name, I haven't bothered to even pronounce it until now. In my mind, I read it as Uptown something, and the full meaning is even more horrible. Obtention means unbelievable perfect 10 members teenage idol, open now. Like, who the hell came up with these? It sounds like one of those animes with long titles. Teen Top. It doesn't sound too bad until you hear it stands for Teenage Emo Boy, Emotion, Next Generation, Talent, Object, Praise. Not only does it have a weird meaning, but it also falls under the categories of those names that will limit the group when the members eventually grow older. Itzy and Espa. I know there was probably a lot of time and energy put towards the creative aspects of making these names unique, especially since they are words that don't exist, but they just end up sounding like they input some vowels and consonants in a word generator and clicked shuffle. I didn't vibe with them at first, just like new jeans, but you're forced to get used to them eventually. Bay 173 and T1419. These names are just giving passwords and nuclear weapons. Then we have the basic names. History, boyfriend, nature are just words that are hard to set up. If you're going to name a group just one specific word, at least make it cool. Same can be said for Twice. The name is very basic and uncreative, but they're lucky that they're popular, so at least the stands don't have to go through the trouble of something else popping up when they search them up. April, Stacy, Billy are just people's names with rearranged or added letters.